Hey, what is up, YouTube? It's the Common Collector, and today I want to show you guys off my newest GOAT format strategy deck. So this is a combo of moves that Weevil Underwood sort of utilizes in the TV show. That was sort of the theme of the deck. Basically just a heavy hitting insect deck, and so it's really, really sweet how it utilizes DNA surgery to turn your opponent's monsters into insects, as well as insect barrier to make your opponent's insect monsters not be able to attack. So it's really neat. So let's just get right on into it. If you guys don't know what GOAT format is, I can leave a few links in the description. But basically, it is like the peak of what Yu-Gi-Oh used to be back in 2005. How we used to play with, where opponents take turns and do cool interactions, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh today. So just to start off here on this deck, it starts off with the Ultimate Insects, 3 through 7. So I like just keeping these at 1. They're pretty easy to work with, and we have a card that can get out our Ultimate Insect level 3 to go into 5, 5 into 7, and it reduces your opponent's monster's attack and everything. So it's just a really handy card to keep out there because these two are really the big heavy hitters of the deck, and it's nice to just that they both have effects to decrease attack for the other lesser attack guys. So moving on into 3, Howling Insect level 3, Howling Insect, but it is a level 3 monster. But basically, whenever this is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, then you get a insect of 1500 or less attack, special summon your side of the field, which gives us a lot of targets. Moving on into Arsenal Bug, its attack is halved if you don't have any other insect monsters on the board, but usually we do have quite a few insects on the board, so that's usually not a problem, and anything that's on our field because of DNA surgery will be turned into an insect, so it's very nice. So moving on, we have 2 Prickle Fairies. Prickle Fairy basically works like a second insect barrier. It stops your opponent from being able to attack insect monsters. Now it is treated as a plant type, so keep that in mind. But if you have DNA surgery on the field, declare all monsters become insects, then Prickle Fairy can't be attacked either. Also, when it's attacked, then your opponent's monsters get put into defense mode. So that's just kind of nice to be able to swap some heavy hitters into defense. Moving on, we have 1 Swarm of Locusts and 1 Swarm of Scarabs. Now, these 2 cards are very interesting. It'd almost be nice to put a second Swarm of Scarabs, but we are able to pull, a handful of monsters from the graveyard, and destroying monsters isn't our main agenda for the deck, but basically Swarm of Scarabs is used. You flip it. It's kind of like Ghost Trick monsters, where these 2 monsters can flip each other themselves face down. Once they are flipped, it's not a flip effect, but it's a trigger effect that when they are flipped, Swarm of Scarabs will destroy 1 monster on the field. Swarm of Locusts will destroy a spell or trap on the field. So it's just really nice to be able to use those. And since we have such a high defense wall, you can just consistently destroy your opponent's monsters or spell traps. But especially with Scarabs, Scarabs is so nice because, like I said, we don't have a lot of heavy hitters in the deck. So it's nice to be able to get rid of those, open up your opponent's field, and then you can go in for the direct attacks. Next, 1 Legwool, just to kind of keep it with the Weevil Underwood theme deck. God forbid anybody ever hands you their pieces of Exodia, especially like on a cruise ship or anything while you're playing this deck. They can say goodbye to Exodia. And if you used to watch the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, I really hope you guys got that joke. But Legwool is also very nice because if your opponent does have some of those big monsters on the board and you can't get over them, Legwool will be able to attack for 300 directly every turn, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when that's what you got to do, you got to do. But besides Legwool, another instance of what you can do in this deck is a deck out, which I actually did at my locals this last weekend. I used this deck. We decided to go back to GOAT format. Just we're kind of switching off back and forth. So yeah, and it's not just something that you can do at locals. It's something you guys can do amongst your friends too. So But yeah, deck out or attacking with Legul sometimes just becomes one of your desperate measures. Moving on, we have one of the Magical Merchant and one Needleworm. Magical Merchant, really nice to just get to those spell and traps that you haven't gotten to yet. And also the Needleworm, this is what I use to deck out my opponent. So here's the scenario, if I can just take your moment, because this was fascinating. He kind of ran out of monsters, and I was running low on monsters. I knew that there was only one in my deck, and that it was Needleworm. I didn't know when I was going to be drawing it, but basically I had my second to last draw. I picked up Needleworm, and my heart just stopped. I set him face down. My opponent went. He couldn't do anything. Got to me. I drew my last card. I believe it was a Pot of Greed. And then I flipped my Needleworm, took the last 3 cards off of his deck, passed to him, and he couldn't draw. And it was just insane how that worked out, how he only had 3 cards left, and I was able to do that. So anyway, moving on, 1 Tribe Infecting Virus, 1 Breaker the Magical Warrior, 1 Cyberjar, and 1 Sinister Serpent, because we do have a lot of discard effects in this, and you'll see once I get to the traps that there are a lot. So it's nice having Sinister Serpent, and it's nice having Cyberjar, because you can get more of those spell or traps in your hand, and you can, thin the deck out a little bit, get your monsters onto the field. But Tribe Infecting Virus, very, very handy, very cool instances. With DNA Surgery also, I had a lot of moments where my opponent would be trying to use Tribe Infecting Virus on me, and I hadn't had my DNA Surgery flipped yet. Then he would activate the effect, and I would chain with DNA Surgery, turn all monsters to insects, and then all of his monsters got destroyed as well. So that was just really good. They go like, oh, nice, he's playing all insects. I can destroy those. But anyways, that's going to do it for our monster lineup. I'm sorry this is taking so long, but I really like explaining these things, and I'm not going to do any combo tutorials or anything for a GOAT format deck, I don't think. So, especially not this one. So, anyways, 3 insect barriers. I already kind of explained that. 1 Book of Moon, 1 Heavy Storm, 1 Swords. Swords is really nice just for when you haven't gotten to those more permanent-ish of your cards, but really nice to buy yourself a couple of turns. Also, the big kryptonite to this deck, the only deck that I lost to at locals this last week when we did GOAT format, was I lost to a Jinzo deck, so it's very nice keeping your 1 Swords that you're allowed in the deck. Book of Moon is also very nice for getting down your flip effect monsters again, or even if your like Swarm of Locusts is face up for some reason, you can put it back down so you can utilize the effect next turn. But anyway, 1 Premature Burial, 1 Snatch Steal, 1 MST, very good cards. Getting your Premature Burial back for you so you can get your ultimate insects, which is in case they get destroyed. 1 Graceful Charity, which also works with Sinister Serpent. 1 Pot of Greed. And then going into the trap lineup, got 3 DNA surgeries. Very important to keep these in here. So as I kind of mentioned, the insect barriers almost work a little bit like the Prickle Fairy. And so having the 2 Prickle Fairies and your 3 insect barriers, that basically means that you basically have 5 insect barriers, and then just keeping your DNA surgeries on the board is what's really important. And it can sometimes screw up your opponent too if they're playing like a dragon deck, or like Dark Magician, Spellcaster type, anything that's any card that's like, oh, this like power up this type of monster, special summon this if you have one of those. Like it's very handy to stop that. Anyways, 2 Solemn Judgment, and then 2 Judgment of Anubis. You got to play these 4 Judgment cards because Judgment of Anubis especially. So your opponent MSTs or Heavy Storms, you use Judgment of Anubis. That will you discard a card, hopefully your Sinister Serpent, so you're not wasting anything. Then you negate the effect of the Heavy Storm or MST. Then your opponent's monster with the highest attack you can destroy, and then inflict the damage to your opponent's life points, which is very crucial because, like I said, we don't do a whole lot of damage with this. So if we're not going to win by a deck out, and we got to go for life points, then getting off those Judgment of Anubis. This last weekend, I used Judgment of Anubis on a Dark Magician. My opponent used Dark Magic Attack to, Harpy's Feather Storm or Harpy Feather Duster my board, and I looked at him and just kind of smiled, flipped over Judgment of Anubis, and his day was wrecked. So I inflicted 2,500 damage to him, destroyed his Dark Magician, and negated the effect. So very nice. Anyway, 2 Gravity Bind. We have a lot of level 3 monsters that can, the Arsenal Bug and whatnot can do a lot of damage, so it's very nice keeping these Gravity Binds. But you do got to be wary about this stuff when you're going up against a Jinzo matchup. But anyway, 1 Mirror Force, 1 Magic Jammer in case, obviously to stop the heavy storms and stuff, you want to use your Magic Jammer, or you want to use your Judgment of Anubis instead on MSTs and stuff like that, but having Magic Jammer as a backup is still good. And then 1 Call of the Haunted, very nice play to get back your Ultimate Insect level 3 with Call of the Haunted, or your Insect level 5. And then when it gets to your, do that on your opponent's turn. Once it gets to your standby phase, then you go into your level 7 and destroy them. So very nice play to do there. But anyway, let's just go into a few of the side deck things. I did just switch out this Arsenal Bug for that Cyber Drive put in. So keeping 1 Arsenal Bug in the extra deck or side deck wouldn't be too bad of an idea. 1 Morphing Jar if you really feel that it's necessary. Another Magical Merchant if you're just not feeling like you're getting to those spell and traps quick enough. 2 more Book of Moon for the Jinzo matchup. And then 2 Nobleman of Crossout, Bottomless Trap Hole, Compulse, and then just sort of in case you go up against like some sort of a removal deck strategy, I kind of have like a bit of a Gren Maju setup with 3 Soul Release and then 3 Gren Maju to Isa, just in case. Because side deck isn't really that crazy that you need in GOAT format, so I really think that kind of keeping those 6 cards in your side deck doesn't hurt too bad, but it's very nice to have that as an option. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you guys are cool with me still doing some of these deck profiles on GOAT format, let me know. Let me know if there's any other ideas on stuff. I'm kind of working on like a Harpy build, stuff like that. So just let me know. And also a quick shout out to Naruto and Jalen. I don't know if I'm saying that correct. That's just how I know you from your emails. But they are the 2 contest winners who won the giveaway for the box opening that I just did this last week. So thank you very much. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you guys later. And let me know again in the comments what you guys think about GOAT format.